it's Sammy from Sammy's Sweet Life, and it is ultimate pen testing time. I've heard lots of rumblings about how the Hobonichis, their paper is different. First of all, it's thinner, but it's definitely different paper. I don't know all the ins and outs, but people are saying it does not pass the smell test. It does not pass the pen testing. And so today we are going to pen test and do the ultimate pen testing between Hobonichi and Sterling ink. So I've got 2024, 2024. I also got 2025s and 2025s, and we're gonna just ultimate pen test everything. And by ultimate pen test, I mean we're pulling out all the pens. I've got fountain pens, I've got regular pens, I've got felt tip type of pens, I've got a lot of popular type of pens, I've got highlighters, I've got mild liners, I've got dot pens, I've got brush pens, all the things. So I pulled a snippet of pretty much everything. I even have a ballpoint pen. This is just an Erin Condren ballpoint pen. But I pulled out common pens that people are gonna have, and I'm gonna test them with you guys today. So we are going to just write the same thing. I'm gonna sacrifice 20-25 pages for this video so that we can pen test everything and see how everything stacks up head to head. So that's going to be this video. I'm going to go grab lunch and then I'm going to speed through some of this. I'll show some footage probably, but I'm going to be in the zone listening to an audiobook. So I probably will miss when the camera cuts off. So it may be a little bit choppy. And I do have other Hobonichis as well for 2025. So I may end up going to grab the other Hon because I heard it's just some batches of the Hobonichi paper. And so I don't know if I have any effective planners. I will end up at least trying the fountain pens in all, I think I got 5, all 5 Hobonichis, and then also current year Hobonichi. So yeah, just sit back. I'm gonna play some music for you guys and let's speed through this part and then we will talk about all of the results. Alrighty, I turned my audiobook off. I've got the swatches on everything. So these 2 are the Sterling inks. These 3 are the, this one does not want to stay open. Let's see, we'll put swatches over there. These 3 are the Hobonichi. So we're going to compare Hobonichi to Hobonichi. So there's quite a bit of ghosting. I see just a couple little spots where they bleed through, like on the highlighters. Even the second wave of highlighters, I did 2 streaks on the first few highlighters. Nothing bled through at all. Even the dot pen did a good job not bleeding all the way through, even though I did 2 dots. I picked a dark and a light. This is new paper. I don't see anything bleeding all the way through. The ghosting is significant. These bled into the paper a little bit, but nothing all the way through. Like this one bled into the paper. No big deal. And then other Hobonichi. So we got lots of ghosting, but I don't see anything bleeding significantly into the paper. Even the second dot pen, like mild liners, I did 2 streaks of the Tombos and the mild liners. Fountain inks, nothing bled through. So very good. So these are the sterling inks. Again, no bleed through whatsoever. No bleed through whatsoever. So just like the tiniest little bleed in the second dot pen. Like this highlighter has like the tiniest bit of bleeding, but it didn't bleed through all the paper at all. So my conclusion here with all the Hobonichis, yeah, the paper is thinner. So like looking at both of these, I feel like the ghosting is the same, like not significant. In fact, like some of these look very much brighter ghosting than some of these. I feel like this is a little bit more muted here. But like these look identical to me. I don't see much difference in any of these. They didn't bleed through at all. So I guess I didn't get a bad batch here. So I kept the rest of the pins in order so I can do the same order of swatching in the rest of my Hobonichis to see if any of them have defective paper. But so far, both of my Hobonichis performed just as good as the last year Hobonichi. And then the sterling inks, of course, performed great. So nothing out of the ordinary. Everything did great. So I just have 3 more Hobonichis to write all the swatches in, which I'll do and cut into this video. But so far, so good for those ones. I've got a little ink swatch on my backdrop here. Okay, for these 3, I just did a quick down and dirty testing. I picked my darkest fountain pen, my darkest other things, and it looks to me like I don't have any affected books. So I've seen pictures of people's books that are affected. I do know some of them seem to have defective paper. It is a product made of wood, so like I guess some of the wood was not the greatest wood, or whatever they mixed in with the wood pulp to make the paper affected some. But none of mine, like I've seen pictures, I believe this is an actual phenomenon, but none of mine have issues whatsoever. So I got lucky with my planners. Like, yeah, nothing's all the way through. I'm not having any sort of issues. It all is performing really well for me. So I didn't get any issues with my planners. Hobonichi has responded. I will hop to a voiceover and talk a little bit about it. So I'm not going to read the entire statement, and just FYI, the dishwasher is also running, so you're probably going to hear that in the background. I ended up looking at the statement. I'll link to a Reddit thread where they post it in the thread. It basically covers, you know, they've tested out the paper, they know that people are concerned, but basically sort of brushes people off, saying the paper is great still, and it just doesn't cover what it needs to cover. You know, there are significant problems I've seen in Reddit threads and in Facebook groups that the paper, specifically the 5-year journal paper, the fountain inks are just completely bleeding through, and there are worse batches of paper in the other Hobonichi versions as well. I've seen people's pictures. Now, I didn't notice any issues in mine, and I am used to using the Sanzen paper, which they have switched to now, but they have their own version of Sanzen paper, and people are saying that the pen strokes are thicker for them than previous years, and they're also having a lot of feathering issues with some fountain pens. So I see where people are coming from. I see the proof, like pictures It's very obvious that especially the 5-year journals are completely bleeding through. So I feel like their response, while it sounds good, like they're saying they have investigated, they're running tests on the paper, and it still meets their standards, just leaves a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths, especially if you're spending so much money on a book and they're being like, oh, it's fine, it still meets our standards. That leaves lots of people with lots of questions because they're spending a lot of money and they're like, no, dude, the paper doesn't meet my standards. But if Hobonichi is saying it meets their standards, then the issue's not being addressed. So that part, that part's not great. I'm glad that they responded in any way at all and acknowledged like people are having frustrations, but it definitely seems to blame the user. Like, inks are going to bleed through and our paper's still the same quality. Just doesn't tell the whole truth. Like, something definitely has changed because there's just not the same quality. So I have mixed feelings about it. Like, on the one hand, yeah, they have looked into it and they're addressing it. But on the other hand, they're kind of gaslighty and not really acknowledging like physical proof. It's totally bleeding through some of the papers. Like, you cannot use fountain ink in some of the 5-year journals at all because it's bleeding through. And if they're saying that still meets their standards, then their standards are zero as far as like fountain ink friendly paper. So I don't know. I'm just kind of confused on the whole response, and I'm interested to see moving forward if they're going to have the same issues and kind of brush it off. I feel like this was a little bit of a brush off. So yeah, it just leaves me a little confused. I haven't noticed anything with mine. Unfortunately, I don't have anything tangible to show you guys on my end because all of my paper seems to be working perfectly fine. But it'll really be the ultimate test when I use them and use fountain inks, all year long. I might find some that have problems with the paper, but that's not unusual with fountain inks in general. Like, I have some that feather just because the ink itself has issues. So I don't know where I stand on this. So that's really all I have for this video. I would love to know if you have any affected Hobonichi planners, 5-year journals. I would love to know if you're having issues and what those issues specifically are. And I will leave you with that. I hope you guys have a great day. Like, subscribe, follow me along, and I will catch you guys next time. Bye.